Brandis, oil giant BP has agreed to reduce emissions out of its Whiting refinery. That's just 15 miles southeast of Chicago. The company will also pay a $500,000 penalty. This is the latest in a long-running effort by environmental groups to rein in the refinery. They sued in 2008. A settlement was reached in 2012, but activists filed another lawsuit in 2019, alleging the refinery exceeded agreed-upon limits and repeatedly failed to operate pollution control equipment as required by a consent decree. Now, here to discuss this case and ongoing concerns for air pollution in the Chicagoland area are Eric Schaefer, Executive Director of the Environmental Integrity Project and a former enforcement director with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. He is also an attorney who worked the BP refinery case. Also, Jen Walling, Executive Director of the Illinois Environmental Council. Eric, let's begin with you. As an attorney who worked on this lawsuit, what are oil refineries such as BP releasing into the atmosphere that is harmful to the environment as they're doing the refinery? Really, they're taking crude oil and refining it into gasoline, jet fuel, those other things. What are they releasing as they do so?
So this Whiting refinery is one of the oldest and biggest refineries in the U.S. I think it may have been one of the first that John D. Rockefeller built. It's been running for more than 100 years. And in the process of squeezing gasoline out of oil involves a lot of heat, mixing in a lot of chemicals, a lot of pressure. And so not surprisingly, you get a lot of pollution from those plants. You get sulfur dioxide, which is, you could think of acid rain, you could think of sulfur compounds attacking your lungs. Nitrogen dioxide contributes to smog. But in this case, we're talking about soot. And these are the fine particles that are linked to heart disease and lung disease and contribute to premature death, particularly dangerous form of pollution. The company had limits on particulate matter that they were supposed to meet under that 2012 consent decree. They weren't meeting them. We thought they weren't taking that problem seriously enough, so we brought an enforcement action, and that eventually, with EPA's help, led to the settlement.
And Jen, what sort of effects, we've talked about, so Soot, particulate matter, pollutants, what effect is that having on people's everyday lives that are within the area of these emissions?
Well, Chicagoans are living with some of the dirtiest air in the country. The American Lung Association says that we're 19th in terms of the country in terms of particulate matter. And this is particularly even worse in communities of color. We're seeing environmental justice communities that not only have pollution like this, the soot from the oil refineries, but other heavy sources of air pollution in their neighborhoods. It's contributing to what are increased rates of asthma in the Chicago area in children and other health impacts to children and the folks living here from the air that we're breathing.
And I do want to get back to environmental justice communities, but briefly, Eric, we have talked about this being one of the oldest and largest in the United States, but there are also other refineries in the Midwest. Where are some of these, and are they also under the spotlight?
There is a big refinery in Joliet, Illinois. There are several refineries in Ohio. There's another one in Indiana. So the Midwest is actually a center of refining activity. These plants are big, they're major sources of pollution. And at least at some of them, I wouldn't be surprised to find the same kind of trouble that we saw at BP Whiting.
And so what are you hoping, Jen, to get out of this settlement? The refinery, by the way, covering, of course, Whiting, Indiana, but also East Chicago, Hammond, Indiana. These, as you noted, are largely communities of color.
So I just want to, was that for you, Jen?
You know, go ahead. If you have something to say, go ahead, jump on in.
I was just going to say quickly, I just want to reinforce what Jen said, which is people living closest to these plants are typically people of color with limited incomes. They are hit the hardest by this pollution and especially by soot. And they're the folks we most want to help when we bring these actions.
Well, and of course, Jen, also other polluters, coal plants and so on. Do you want to jump in here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things, going forward, this is something that we have to clean up. Just the oil refinery, we need to look at fossil fuel infrastructure in general. But in Chicago and in the state of Illinois, we must start to look at the cumulative impact of different air sources. It's not something we look at and ends up that we put all sorts of dirty polluters of the air in certain areas that are always communities of color and always low-income communities, and they're being just bombarded by air pollution in a way that is incredibly unjust. So that's what we're looking to do in the city of Chicago, whether it's the General Iron facility that wants to locate there, Hillco and Little Village, the Matt Asphalt plant. These are all large contributors to air pollution. We need to look at what else is in the neighborhood before we allow any more large polluters in the city of Chicago or the state of Illinois.
And Eric, we've got about 1 minute left. Let's finish it with you. What difference should this settlement make? And could you just give us a general assessment of the area's air quality? Has it improved at all over the years, despite having these refineries nearby with increased recognition?
Well, if you're talking about the Chicago area, which would include Northwest Indiana, and sort of those air pollution control regions are usually multi-state. It's gotten somewhat better, but I will say that Chicago is still not meeting the smog standard that dates back to 1997. And while it's just now meeting the standard for fine particles, the federal air quality standard, there are some neighborhoods in the Chicago region that are very close to the limit. And because we don't have the kind of monitoring we need in the area right around the refinery, I think it's likely that some of those neighborhoods are breathing air that is actually violating the Clean Air Act as far as soot goes.
And I know that both of you will be keeping your eye on that. Thank you for sharing your insight with us, Eric Schaefer and Jen Walling.